What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Jet's Fishing Adventure. And today is a Halloween special. But first, I forgot something. I'll be right back. All right, we're ready. This costume is a little bit hard to see out of, but hey, it's the Halloween special. So we gotta do something funny. All right, all jokes aside, let's jump into this video. So, today is Halloween, tomorrow is November 1st, and what do? We're gonna do a little 3 bait video. November is an interesting month. The weather's getting colder, there's a lot less traffic on the lake because of deer hunting, and none of the pleasure boaters are out there. November is actually some of my favorite time to fish, definitely in the early part of November, and of course the wind's gonna pick up. Rod's gonna fall down, but November can be a really fun month to fish, but it can kind of throw you for a loop if you're not out there all the time or you don't know what to throw. Like last month, the fish are still on that bait pattern, real heavy, so all these baits I'm fixing to talk about is going to be a lot of shad stuff, but that's what you want to look for. If you don't have a depth finder, look around on the lake. Look for birds out on the water. They're some of your best fish finders. If you do have a depth finder or live scope, look for big schools. And the fish, the bass, will probably be underneath them feeding. A lot of the fish are up in the back of coves. We were on Tim's Ford last week, and that's where we found the smallmouth, was up in the back of coves. This month is kind of a transition month as well, towards the later part of the month. Or if you're watching this from up north, it could already be happening. The water is going to get colder, but the water temp will be anywhere between mid to low 60s, possibly high 50s, depending on how bad our weather gets, or if your weather up there is a lot colder. But in this video, for the sake, we're going to be focusing mainly around Tennessee, the Tennessee River system, and anywhere around in the southeastern part of the United States. As I said in the opener and last month, the fish are on a really big bait pattern, and there's really no better way to imitate a shad, a gizzard shad, thread fin shad, than a swim bait. Actually, this is one of my favorite all-time swim baits. It's the Thresher 4.2 Torn Outdoors. Cannot get any better than this, I don't think. This is the pure white color. Depending on what body of water, there's several different colors that you can go. But a little underspin this time of year is a deadly combo if you find those schooling fish, or if you're just searching. This time of year, if you watch me fish, I'll keep the motor on like 10% and just cover a bank. Watch the depth finder. If I find a school, I'll turn around, mark the school, turn around, and then start fishing it. A lot of times, if you catch one fish in an area, you can catch a number of fish in an area. But I'm not sure what underspin that is, to be honest. But this is my setup. I'm having on a 7'6" Cashin Icon rod. If you're familiar and have watched my other videos, this is also my mid to deep cranking rod. It's an awesome little swim bait rod as well. It's got some backbone, but that tip, you can actually feel this bait working, and that's what I like about it. When you get those little subtle bites, you actually feel it stop, and it's very sensitive, and it works really good on bigger fish. I pair it up with a Daiwa Tatula TWS, really good reel. This is a 6 to 3 gear ratio. And I also have it paired up with 15-pound Seaguar Tatsu. Very good line. You can really, it almost like self-healing in a way. It's a little expensive, not gonna lie, but it's well worth the money. Now, this time of year, you might notice there's a lot of fish, a lot of bait schools, and a lot of bait that are real small. And a 4.2 or your 3.8 Kitex, might be a little bit too big. Well, in that case, I like to throw a little bitty 2.8 Codtech, just like that. A lot of different companies make a little bitty 2.8. That's on a guppy head by Dirty Jigs, I think. Really good little setup. I also like to throw, they have a little bitty underspin if you want to make a little bit more of a flash if your water's a little bit dirtier. But I typically throw this on like a real clear, like Dale Hollow a lot of times. And you can catch some big fish on a small bait. But remember this key phrase, match the hatch. And that's what you're wanting to do with this little bitty swim bait. If you notice there's a lot of small shad in the area, fish a little bitty swim bait. Or if you're not catching the size fish that you want, or you're not catching a lot, switch that bigger bait, and vice versa. I throw this swim bait on a Omen 13 fishing reel or rod with a 13 fishing key line reel. I got it paired up with 15-pound Smackdown braid, and I think I have it on 10-pound Invisex line. Depending on where you're at, you might want to go down to 8, or if you're catching bigger fish, you might want to go to 12. You can't go wrong with this. It's a very easy way to fish as well. It's a casting out and reeling in. Very easy, simple way to fish. If you're new, it don't take very much equipment either. A nice 7-foot to 7'6" rod, fluorocarbon line, and I personally like the VMC Moon if you're just fishing a swim bait, kind of like this Strike King or this Codtech 3.8, or you can use the underspin like I just showed you. All right, my number 2 for the month of November, like I said, the fish on a bait pattern, and you might want to fish a little bit deeper. A good thing about a swim bait, as long as you let it sink, you can go any deep. But if you don't want to wait for that, if you just want to cast out and reel in, there's no better way than a crankbait. This time of year, tactical bassing actually made this kind of famous, and I've actually started using it last year, and I'm planning on using it this year. But they came out with a River to Sea tactical DD crank, and what they made famous is speed cranking. November, the water temp is not as cold, so the fish are pretty active chasing bait. So if you find these bait balls, you can run this, speed crank it right through it, stop, pause, it'll stop. If a fish is behind it, they have to open their mouth and eat it. It's just a response, a reaction style bait. But this is a real fun little bait to use. It dives about 15 foot, so I use, actually I have it on my chatterbait rod. Usually when I'm fishing this is in clear water, and I don't typically use a chatterbait. So it runs this tactical DD. It's a 7'5", the Snyder Snipe for my rod. Really good rod. Got it paired up with the SLX DC Shimano. One thing you want to do with these little speed cranks is get as long as a cast as you can. You want to deflect off of stuff. When you feel it deflect, pause. Then reel, pause. But having a real fast gear ratio in your reel is a must. This is a 7'2", and I got it paired up with 15-pound Seaguar. The reason behind that, you kind of won't run like 12 on a deep diver, but this is also my chatterbait rod, so I use 15. So really, I'm probably only getting about 10 foot to 13 foot with it, but I'll take the less depth versus having to change out line every time I use it. So that's kind of a bummer. But this is any crankbait, a DT10, DT20 will be working good. This is actually designed specifically for speed cranking. It's got a real tight wobble, and when you stop it, it just stops. The DT10s and the DT series, they'll work good speed cranking, but they're really good just cranking. That's my second favorite. Really, it's probably my first favorite crankbait, but not in the instance of fishing the speed cranking way. But anyway, that's my number 2 choice. and it's a very simple way to fish. And it's a very simple way, and it catches some good fish. It is a treble hook, so you might lose a few fish, but I'd much rather get bit than not get bit at all. My third favorite way to catch fish in the month of November, and this probably don't come to surprise by many. Sometimes you have to slow down to get that bite, and when you do, I love to fish a jig. There's really no better way to catch fish, and that's not just in November, that's year long, than a jig. It's very versatile. You can use it to swim back as a swimming jig. You can use it to skip docks, flip trees. It's just a real versatile bait. Of course, if you know me, that's the bad boy jig. I think that's the money maker color, and it's paired up with a Torn Outdoors timber crawl. Now, let me give you a little tip. In November, you want your bait to not be as action-packed as if it was in summer months or the spring. Reason behind that, the water is starting to get a little colder, and the fish are not as active, or the crawfish are not as active as they usually are. So, the one thing I love about the Torn Outdoor Timber Crawl is when you get a brand new one out of the pack, this one's already been tore apart, but a brand new out of the pack, these little pinchers around here have different levels of action. So in the month of November and all the way till probably March, whenever that water starts to warm up, I'll actually won't pinch off these extra action tabs, if you will, and I'll just leave it, and just for those little fins to just kick a little bit. Really subtle way. A lot of people fish jigs during the summer, during the winter, and not catch a lot. And to me, that's probably why, because you got an action, you're using the same crawl that you're using throughout the year, big O action sitting there, and that's just not natural. When that water gets below 60s, the fish, specifically the crawdads, will start to kind of get a little lethargic and not move as much. And you want to match the hatch and try to mimic as close as you can to what nature's doing. If you've watched my previous videos, you'll know what I'm about to say, but I use an ALX toadface rod. It's in their Zolo series. Really good jig rod. It's actually their frog rod, but I just love this. This is a 7'2" medium heavy plus. Really good for jigs. They actually just came out with a 7'6" one. I think it might have been their custom, and I might end up getting it for the jig. That'd be awesome, that little bit extra length, be able to cast a jig a lot further. But I have it paired with a Shimano Curado. It's just a 2000 series. This is the workhorse reel. Got it paired with 30-pound Seaguar Smackdown braid in the gray color. And I got 17, usually 17 Seaguar Abrazex or Tatsu. And I will even go down to 15 to 12 depending on how clear the water is. Or I'll even go up to 20 depending on if I'm fishing real heavy cover. But this setup right here, I've caught a lot of fish. It's a fun way to fish. Fun setup to catch fish on. And it's super light. And you know, a jig is probably my top 3 favorite profile to fish, or technique to fish. A very aggressive bite. You sit there and you're fishing, and all of a sudden you feel that thud. You reel down, see your line moving, set the hook. There's no funner. There's no better way to catch a fish. All right, here we go. If you know me and my top 3 bait videos every month, I like to throw in that 4th one, that kind of fun technique. And in the month of November, particularly the beginning of November, the first 2 weeks, maybe even that 3 week, as long as the water don't get cold really quick, there's no better way or funner way to catch fish than a topwater spook, in my opinion. I got 2 around here. One's the Strike King Sexy Dog, and the other one is an Evergreen Shire Blows. These baits right here are a really fun way to catch fish. It's a very explosive, way to catch fish. And it's just downright fun, really. I got two different setups that I like to fish with them. This is a 7-foot, another rod follow. This is a 7-foot Dugout Jacob Wheeler rod. Got it paired up with 30-pound braid with a Shimano Corrado 200 again. These reels are just workhorses, really smooth. I clean them every year, but I use them a lot throughout the year, and they still feel as smooth as the day I bought them. But this is the Sexy Dog, the middle size. There's a bigger size than that. Really fun little, really good little bait. The hooks are pretty decent from the package. I do upgrade the hooks once I use it for a little while to owners. Can't remember the exact brand of the owner treble hooks, but that's a really good way to catch fish. If the bait fish are a little bit bigger, I'll switch to the evergreen shower blows. If the bait fish are a little bit smaller, this has a little bit smaller profile. In the Gunnersville video, you might have noticed I was using this on a spinning rod. I'll use a spinning rod and a bait caster with this little bait, depending on what I'm using, with what else I'm using, if it's got tied up on this rod, or if I'm wanting a really long cast, I'll put it on the spinning reel. Mainly, the reason why I was using on a spinning reel is because I had a popper on this rod, and that's the nice thing. And if you're fishing out of a kayak, you kind of want to be able to have rods that can work different baits. Even though I can carry 12 plus rods on this kayak, I still don't have enough space to carry every rod I own. So I try to pick rods that I can be kind of versatile with. This rod right here is a 7'2" Elite Cashin Elite series. You've heard, no, it's 7'3", I'm sorry. You've heard me talk about this rod a lot. It's my favorite rod of all. This rod right here can fish a light little finesse jig, a Texas rig, no problem. You can flip a light flipping setup. It's just an all-around good rod. And I got it paired up with the Lew's BB1 Pro. Topwater for the first couple of weeks of November. Once that water drops below that 60-degree mark, you can still catch them on it. They're just not as, you just won't catch as many. You'll notice there's a kind of decline. Mornings really catch topwater fish this time of year all day, and that's one reason why I love fishing this time of year. It's just a fun way to catch them, very aggressive way to catch them. And if you're newer to fishing, seeing them come out and blow up on that topwater bait will get you hooked on fishing. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Halloween was coming up. I was standing in Sam's Club and I found that little T-Rex costume, and I said, I gotta get it and do a little fun episode. You know, every month I do these little 3-bait videos and they do really well, so I gotta thank y'all. And if you have not, go ahead and follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I just posted a really fun video on TikTok of me wearing it out fishing, so you need to go and watch that and share it. But if you enjoyed the video, go ahead and hit that like button. Comment below what your favorite baits for November is, and comment if you're dressing up for Halloween. It's really funny to see what your top 3 baits are, and it's really funny to see people like us out dressing up for Halloween. You know, you gotta make fun of yourself sometimes, and I'm really good at making fun of myself. And well, without me blabbering on, thanks for watching. Go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe for more. We'll see y'all next week.